Most men with erectile dysfunction are treating the wrong problem. They're focused on what happens in the bedroom. What they should be focused on is what's happening inside their arteries, because that's where the real problem lives, and that's where the real fix has to start. I'm going to show you exactly what's blocking your erections, why your doctor probably hasn't explained this to you, and what you can do starting today to begin unblocking it. Stay with me. I'm Dr. Cross. 18 years of clinical practice focused on men's sexual health. And the single most important shift I try to create in every new patient is this one. Erectile dysfunction is not a sex problem. It is a cardiovascular problem that shows up during sex. Once you make that shift, once you stop treating it like a bedroom issue and start treating it like a plumbing issue, everything changes. Here's what most doctors won't tell you. Your penis has arteries, small ones, the smallest in your entire body, in fact. The penile arteries measure between 1 and 2 millimeters in diameter. For comparison, the coronary arteries that supply your heart are 3 to 4 millimeters. Your penile arteries are half that size, and here's why that matters. When arterial disease starts developing in your body, when plaque begins to build up, when the arterial walls start to stiffen and narrow, the smallest arteries get affected first. Not your heart, not your legs, your penis. This is why erectile dysfunction appears on average 2 to 3 years before a man is diagnosed with cardiovascular disease. It's not a coincidence. It's not bad luck. It's your body sending you a signal through the smallest, most vulnerable vessels you have. Let me break this down for you so it really lands. Imagine your arterial system like a network of pipes. Some pipes are wide, your aorta, your coronary arteries. Some pipes are narrow, your penile arteries. When something starts clogging those pipes, the narrow ones clog first. And the first symptom you get is not a heart attack. The first symptom is a weaker erection. That is your early warning system. Most men ignore it or feel ashamed of it. What they should feel is informed, because if you catch this signal early and do something about it, you are not just protecting your sex life, you are protecting your heart. Now here's where it gets interesting. The mechanism behind all of this is a condition called endothelial dysfunction. The endothelium, that's the inner lining of your blood vessels, a single layer of cells that lines every artery and vein in your body. When it's healthy, it produces nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the molecule that tells your arterial walls to relax and open up. It's what allows blood to flood into the erectile tissue and produce an erection. When the endothelium is damaged by inflammation, by oxidative stress, by poor diet, by high blood sugar, by years of sedentary living, it stops producing enough nitric oxide. The vessels stop dilating properly, blood flow drops, and your erections go with it. I had a patient, let's call him Mike, 54 years old, type 2 diabetic, been dealing with ED for about 3 years when he came to see me. He had tried Viagra. It worked sometimes, not others. He was frustrated and embarrassed. He assumed it was just age. He told me his doctor had run some tests, said everything looked fine, and handed him a prescription. I asked Mike when his ED started. He told me. Then I looked at his records. His fasting blood sugar had been elevated for about 5 years before the ED showed up. His waist was 42 inches. He had been sedentary for most of his 50s. I told Mike, "You don't have an ED problem. You have an arterial health problem that started years ago and is showing up in your erections first." He looked at me like I had just explained something nobody had ever bothered to explain, because nobody had. This is the gap I'm trying to close with this channel. Your doctor has 15 minutes per appointment. They don't have time to walk you through the vascular biology of erectile function. I do. So let's keep going. The good news, and there is genuinely good news here, is that endothelial function is not fixed. It is not permanent. The endothelium has remarkable capacity to recover when you give it what it needs and stop giving it what damages it. Studies have shown measurable improvements in endothelial function within weeks of the right interventions, not months, weeks. This is backed by real science, not internet nonsense. The question is what those interventions are, and that's exactly what we're going to get into now. The first intervention is the one with the most evidence behind it, and the one most men resist the most: exercise. Specifically, aerobic exercise. A Harvard study tracking over 31,000 men found that walking 30 minutes a day was associated with a 41% reduction in ED risk. 41%. From walking, not from a pill, not from a supplement, from moving your body consistently. The mechanism is direct. Aerobic exercise stimulates the endothelium to produce more nitric oxide. It increases blood flow through the arteries, which creates what's called shear stress on the arterial walls. And that shear stress is one of the primary signals that tells the endothelium to upregulate nitric oxide production. Every time you go for a brisk walk, you are literally training your arteries to work better. The second intervention is dietary nitrates. This is where it gets practical and specific. Certain foods are extraordinarily rich in compounds that your body converts directly into nitric oxide through a pathway that doesn't even require the endothelium. Beetroot is the most well-studied of these. When you consume dietary nitrates from beets, your body converts them to nitrite and then to nitric oxide via a bacterial pathway in your mouth and gut. Research published in the British Journal of Nutrition showed significant increases in circulating nitric oxide markers after beetroot consumption. Other studies have shown improvements in blood pressure, vascular function, and exercise performance. This is not folk medicine. This is biochemistry. The third intervention is L-citrulline, an amino acid found naturally in watermelon and certain other foods. When you consume L-citrulline, your kidneys convert it to L-arginine, which is the direct substrate your endothelial cells use to synthesize nitric oxide. A study in the Journal of Urology found meaningful improvements in erection quality in men with mild to moderate ED who supplemented with L-citrulline. Why L-citrulline instead of L-arginine directly? Because L-arginine taken orally is largely broken down in the gut before it reaches the bloodstream. L-citrulline survives digestion and raises blood arginine levels more effectively. This is the kind of detail your doctor doesn't have time to explain. Now you know it. Now here is the part most men skip, and it is the reason most men don't see lasting results. All three of these interventions work through the same final pathway: nitric oxide production in the endothelium. But nitric oxide is destroyed by inflammation and oxidative stress. If you are eating a diet that drives chronic inflammation, processed foods, excess sugar, refined seed oils, you are fighting a losing battle. You are trying to fill a bucket that has holes in it. The dietary changes and the exercise matter, but reducing the inflammatory load on your endothelium is what makes everything else work. Mike came back to see me 6 weeks after our conversation. He had started walking every morning. He had cut out the daily fast food lunches. He was adding beet powder to his coffee and taking L-citrulline. He told me the difference was noticeable by week 3. Not dramatic, but real. Something he hadn't felt consistently in years. At his 3-month follow-up, he had lost 11 pounds. His fasting blood sugar had dropped, and he told me he no longer needed the Viagra at all. I'm not telling you Mike's story is guaranteed to be your story. It's not. But the mechanism that worked for Mike is real, documented, and available to every man watching this video. If you take one thing from this video, make it this: your erections are the earliest warning system your cardiovascular system has. If that system is sending you a signal right now, the answer is not to silence the signal with a pill. The answer is to fix the plumbing. Start walking. Add the dietary nitrates. Support your nitric oxide production. Give your endothelium what it needs to heal. That is how you unblock the arteries killing your erections. Not for a night, but for good. I've put together a complete 30-day protocol that walks through everything I cover with new patients in their first month: nutrition, movement, supplementation, sleep optimization. The link is in the description if you want to go deeper. If this was helpful, hit subscribe. I put out new videos every single day to help you take control of your health. I'm Dr. Cross, and I'll see you in the next one. Let me add one more thing before you go, because I think it's important and most people don't talk about it. A lot of men come to me after years of ignoring these signals. They feel like it's too late, like the damage is done. I want to be direct with you about that. The research does not support that thinking. The endothelium is one of the most regenerative tissues in your body. Men in their 60s and 70s have shown measurable improvements in vascular function through the right lifestyle interventions. The timeline is longer than it is for a man in his 40s. The baseline is lower, but the direction of improvement is the same. Your arteries can get better. Your nitric oxide production can go up. Your erections can improve. Not because of a pill masking the problem, but because you actually address the underlying biology. That is what this channel is about. Not quick fixes, not magic supplements. The actual science of how your body works and what it needs to function the way it was designed to function. I've been doing this for 18 years, I've seen men turn this around at 55, at 62, at 68. The common thread is always the same. They stopped ignoring the signal and started doing something about it. That's what I'm asking you to do today. And one practical note before I let you go. You don't need to do all of this perfectly from day one. Pick one thing from this video and start there. If you're sedentary, start with the 30-minute walk. If you're already active, add the beet powder and the L-citrulline. If you're doing both of those, look at what you're eating and start pulling out the inflammatory foods one by one. Progress in any one of these areas will move the needle. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. Your arteries didn't get blocked overnight. They won't unblock overnight either. But with the right inputs, they will unblock. That I can tell you with confidence. The men who get results are the ones who treat this seriously. Not as an embarrassment to hide, not as a problem to medicate away, but as a real physiological issue with real physiological solutions. You now have the information. The next move is yours.